Hello and welcome to taik. So on continuation of this series, so what we discussed at the end of the video is how we can do the same thing for end date. That end date should not be greater than the start date, right? So before to that, I just want to make one more thing is whatever the date which we select here, like the date and time, it has to give the date and time on this text. So that's what actually we want to do. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to make one local variable. So let's declare that. So selecting this now, and here we have on select. So on select, what we can do is we can create update context and then open bracket and then parenthesis and declaring a variable name start date variable and then colon and then text dot date picker 1 dot selected date, and this is the format. Okay, so I'm converting this date into a text and then I'm adding an and symbol with a space in order to make the difference between the date and time. So this is the one, and then time picker 1, which is this drop down, and time picker 1 dot selected dot value. Close the parenthesis and close the bracket. So if you declare that, we have one variable now. So this variable we need to assign it to a text box. Basically this is our text input, and here the text input, the default of this text input we can declare as start date variable, which we declared just now. So by doing that, if I run this application and if I select any of the date for an example and click OK, so this is going to change September 15, 2021 and the timing. If I select the timings here, it's not going to change here. The reason is I have not made that variable to update whenever we change the time. So what we can do now, we can just select whatever we have done on select of this property and selecting everything, and then select this drop down, right? Select this time picker drop down which we have declared, and here if you go to the same thing on select, which is false now, and you can paste it out. So I haven't changed anything, it's just the same formula. I am updating the variable to repeat that calculation here, right? And then I'm running this application now, and if I change the value here from 840 now, it's still here, and if I select here, it's changing it now. So the reason is if I select here and then if I click on the drop down again, then while it is changing, but this is not the way we need. So what we can do, I'm just going back again, selecting this and selecting this drop down and then go to this on select property and select everything. I just cut this one, Control X, and type the false which was there before, and instead of on select I'm going to change it to on change. So if I select this one, this event on change, and then paste it here, and now let's run this application. So we have 850 now and changing it to be for example 10.5. As soon as I select the value here, it is changing it on this text box. If you look at here, if I change it to 10.45, it is changing now 10.45. So we need to make sure we are updating this variable on the on change property of this drop down, right? So now this step is done. So the same thing we have to replicate onto the end date also. We can do it later on. So now the next thing is we need to make the end date should not be lesser than the start date. So now what we can do, as we have declared it here like update variable. So this is a variable we have, right, which is a local variable we can use within this form. Okay, so coming to this one, end date. So here is the text, end date must be greater than this way. So instead of today, this is what we have declared it for the start date actually, but for the end date we don't need that. So end date must be greater than, we can use the local variable. This is start date variable, right? Yeah, start date variable, this is the one. So if I run this application now, let me zoom this. So now what we have selected here is 10.45. So it's saying this end date must be greater than 10.45. Okay, even though this is greater than itself, but this is just an indicator. Still we need to make the visible property true and false and everything is there, just to give you an example that if you use that variable, we get the start date value here on the text message itself. And now for an example, if I change the timings here like 10:35, so as soon as I change it here, it is perfectly changing the values also here. So let me do it one more time. Instead of 10:45, if I select it to be 15:05, it is changing it here, also here. This is cool, right? So this is just an example. Okay, let me zoom out now and go back to the development. Okay, so now we have the text message ready by using that variable. Now the challenge is when this has to visible. It has to visible only when the start date is greater than the end date time. So in that case, let's go to this date picker. Okay, and on change property of this date picker, what I have done here, update context start date check if start date date time picker 2 dot selected value is less than today, then true, or else it is false. Okay, the start date check, actually this has to be applicable only for the start date, right? So now we are checking for end date. So I am changing the variable here. Actually it is available now. The reason is because I just copied everything from the start date. These three are the right start date time text box and these two date pickers. So it has copied everything, the property and whatever we have written the formula inside to this, it has copied over it here. So don't worry about that it is comes up magically as is. It is not like that because of the copying from the existing control. So I have all these events, whatever I have declared over there, it's copied here. So I'm selecting that. I am repeating it now. So update context, instead of start date check, I am changing it to end date check. Okay. If you are watching this video, this series, I mean this part, then please make sure you also watch the previous series in order to get aligned to whatever we have done so far. Okay. So what I am declaring it here, update context, open bracket and parenthesis, and then declaring the variable as end date check. So here if the date picker 2, which is this one, let me show you here. Yeah, this is the one, date picker 2, dot selected value is lesser than today date, right? Then it has to show true or else false. So instead of today, what you can do here is we can do this start date variable. This is what we had declared, right? So we can use that. By declaring this, it gives an error message. So if I click on this error, it is still there. If you just mouse over here, invalid argument type, expecting a number value. So it is saying that this is an invalid argument type, so it is expecting a number value. Actually this to be converted into a date. So now we need to convert this into a date format, right? So I'm just using the date value is the function. So and then we need to pass a text now. So this is the text I'm going to pass, and then comma, close the bracket. So here we need to pass which country we are belong to, right? So I'm going to use here, there are multiple options here. I'm going to use whether it has India options available or not. ENGB US. For an example, I'm selecting this ENGB US. So this is the date value which is converted, and now if it is correct, then it's going to show true, or else it's going to update as false. So let me repeat one more time. I am declaring a variable, open bracket, parenthesis, and declaring it name is end date check, and if the date picker 2, which is this one, that selected value is lesser than the date and time of the start date variable which we declared, so then it is true or else it is false. And then we can click on this one, and for this visible property, if you go to this one and go to visible property, it is start date check, right? Instead of that we need to use end date check. Okay, got it. So now let's run this application. Okay, so if I select the date, for an example, as of now, if you look at here, the 15th September is the start date and 3rd October is the end date. So let me change this to lesser, 1st of September or 8th of September. So select here and click OK. Now I can see this message here. End date must be greater than or equal to 15 September 35. That's the timing here. That's great. So right now, let's select one example. I'm going it back to August now. August 3. Click on OK. So it gives me this message. End date must be greater than 15 September. If I change it to be August 25, this is still exists. So end date must be greater than 15 September. And if I change it to be 29 September, then this disappears. It means the end date is greater than the start date. This is great. So right now, as you can see, I have used in the formula that this should be in EN and US. So make sure you use your correct time zone here. For an example, this is for the US. If you are using in Britain, then you can use the GB. For this one, English and then the country. And for India, for example, we can use Hindi, which is in India, and dash IN. IN is for India. So it means this is going to convert it in India format. So I am running this application now and then changing the date here to 1st and September. This is showing me the value 13th of September. This is also showing me the value. If I change it to 15 now this is not showing because 15 September and here we have 15 September 15. So this is actually we need to make a slight correction to that. We can do that. So I'm selecting it 16 now. This is not showing up now. So that's cool. So what we have to do here, a slight correction is the date picker 2 must be lesser than this date time, right? So this date time which we have right now is 15 September 55. Okay, so cool. Now copy the same thing to this date picker also. So selecting this and selecting it on change and paste this one. And before to that, we need to make one more thing. That the end date time of this, we need to convert this end date and end time, combining these two and show it on a text box, right? So like what we did for this one. So selecting this for start date and select on this one. So this is start date variable and I'm copying everything from here and now going back to this end date picker and here it's on change. So I'm declaring this on the top of this one and then at the end you need to make sure you use the semicolon, then only it understands. So this is one variable and this is another variable. Okay, so I'm updating this context. This is start date variable, this should be end date variable, the text, converting the date picker into text, and it is date picker 2 ideally, date picker 2 dot selected date. I'm converting it into this format and then and symbol and adding one space to differentiate between the date and time, and then time picker 2 dot selected dot value. So this is for end time, and let's copy this, paste the same thing for the time picker 2 also. So time picker 2 on change, I'm adding it on top and just entering it here. In Power BI you have to use Control Enter in order to update a line, whereas here in Power App you can just click on enter, then that works fine. So copy and paste here. So end date, everything is same, no need to change anything now. After that, go to this text box 2 and instead of default, let me comment this and insert a new line, just enter and use the end date variable. This is what we declared. Now run this application. Let me zoom this. Instead of this, I'm selecting it to be 20th September and OK. It's giving me this 20th September, and if I change any time here, it's giving me this value. That's perfectly fine. Now the challenge is the time, the validation error. So selecting this again, selecting this 1st of September and OK, this gives me this message. Now selecting it to be 14th of September, OK, still this gives me this message. Now if I change this timing, so let the time should be 8 itself. Now if I select this here and 15th and then OK, this message disappeared now. Okay, so this should be actually still visible. The reason is the time here is 15:05 and here it is 8:30. Then it has to show here because the end time should be greater than the start date and time. Okay, so going back again to this development phase and let's dig into it, what we have done. So here date time picker 2 dot selected value is less than this one, right? So what I am do, instead of date picker 2, we can use this variable, right? Anyhow we have this date and time with a different variable, we can use the same. So what I am going to do here, instead of this, I am going to use the date value, which is a function, and then end date variable which we declared, comma, same it is for Hindi and IN, and close the bracket. Then only it's going to update this variable. I need to copy from here to this stage. That is perfect. So now I am not going to update it on a time for now, because I just want to make sure that this works perfectly fine or not. So let's run this application again and run this now. Let's select a different date, for an example 1st of September, just to make sure this is visible now. And if I select to 14th, this is visible now, and if I select 15, this is hidden now. So we may not know the reason behind that, right? So in order to do that, we need to debug a bit. So what we can do now is, instead of showcasing this message here, this is the one, right? So this is actually date variable now. Okay, so now let's copy this, and then just a cross verification, I am going to insert a new label. Adding it here. Actually I can show you the straight way that these are the things which is possible and are not, but I am doing it right now in a proper way, that these are the things which may come if you are doing a real time project. So I am doing it as is, whatever the challenges which comes here in between to that, I am doing all those things here. So now we are going to add a label here, and then I am assigning this text, instead of text, to just this one, end date variable. That's it. Just want to make sure what the outcome is. See, if I run this now, it is just showing 15th of September. Actually it has to show me 15th of September as well as the time, but it is not. So that's the reason this is not working as expected. Because if I convert this, the date value, this also changed to 15th September, this also changed to 15th September. So that's the reason it is not coming up perfectly. So now it means the end date, the date value which is we are using it here, is not as we expected, right? So let's remove this for now. Just use the end date variable. So if you look at this one now, end date variable shows the correct date and time, but when we use end date to be let me just this one, yeah, end date with the date value, it is not converting the date time into date time, it is just converting the date time text into just date. So that's the problem. So instead of this one, we need to use a different method. Yeah, so previously we used the date value. Now if I change this to date time value, it is giving me the proper result what it actually need to be. That's great. So this was the mistake which I did, is instead of using date time value, I used date value. So that's the reason whatever the text we had, it just convert the text into a date format. Now it is converting it to date and time. That's great. So we have this done. So let me delete this one, and now let's go back to this one. So instead of date value, I can just change it to be date time value, and also here to be date time value. This is cool, right? And where else we have used this? I think we have used it where? No. Okay, this is fine. So we have used this end date check to be date time value of this one must be less than this one. Less than, then it has to show, right? So less than or equal to this, then it has to show this value, or else it has to show height actually. So let me run this one now. So for an example, right now it is 8:30. So let's change it to be 8:20 for now. It is not showing up here, and if I select it to be 14, it is not selecting. If I select to 23, it is not selecting. If I change this to be 14, it is showing me this value, right? Okay, let this be here just to make sure everything works fine or not. So I'm going to go to this drop down. Instead of date value, I'm changing it to be date time value, and also here date time value. Okay, that's great. So I'm just going to copy this now and adding this onto the text of this one and pasting it here, and then using this AND symbol just to see what are the values we have it here. AND symbol. Okay, if I zoom this now, so here we have this 3 p.m. 3:05 p.m. as a start date and 11:35 as an end date. Okay, so what the error message we are showing, end date must be greater than the start date. Okay, so now let's run this application. So end date for now is 15 September. If I change this to be some other time, just for example, it's changing now. Here it is showing up to be 2:15, and also this message is also comes here as 2:15. That's great. Okay, so now let's change it to be a different date. For an example, I'm changing the current date, right? So today we are on 3rd. I'm changing it to be 4th for now. This error message is gone, and also we have changed this to be correct, and this has to be greater than 4th of October. Now if I change the date time to be 30 September, still exists error message, and if I change this to be 3rd of October, still there, and if I change it to a different time now, just for an example the 8 a.m. itself in the morning, still the error there, and if I change this to be October 4, now still the error message is there. The reason is, even though this is both the same time, same date, but the time is different. Now if I change this to 5th of October, now the error message has gone. Let us switch back to this 4th of October. Error message is still there. If we change the timing to be just as 10 a.m. for an example, this error message is gone. This is 2:15 p.m. and this is 10:05 a.m. and actually this should not be the case. This has to be hidden here. Yeah, so this is working as of now correctly. So let me zoom out this one and update the same thing on the date time picker also. So here we did all these checkpoints here. Now let's copy this and paste it on this one. We have not changed it here so far, right? So I'm updating this thing here, and now let's run this application. So zooming in, sorry. So let me change. Right now it says 4th of October. Just want to make sure 3rd of September. Yeah, this is fine. And if I change it to 5th of October, this is gone. And if I keep it to 4th, still exists. Now let's select any time here. Just for an example, I'm selecting it to be at the night. Yeah, the error message is gone. Now let me select again. At a different date, like early in the morning, before to this one is 10. Yeah, I can see the error message because it is 2:15. Now it is 10:20. Now if I change it to be 11, it is still showing up here. 12 is still showing up here. 13 is still showing up here. If I change it to 14:10, still there. 14:15, not there. So, and if I select 20, not there. If I select to 14:10, it's there. So it means if it is lesser than or equal to, which is showing up there. Sorry, if it is lesser than, then it's showing up there. If it is greater than, it's not showing up there. So that's the good thing. So if you are not okay with that it has to show only if it is greater than, then we can change this value. The end date time should be lesser than this one. So it means you need to show up here lesser than or equal to, and also here lesser than or equal to. So we have changed in both the date and time pickers. So let me run this again. Now this is 14:15. I am changing it now. This is still showing up here, and if I change to 14:20, it disappears. So it means at least 5 minutes should be there for a meeting. So that's what we are declaring it here. So cool. Now we have done everything, the validations and all the savings and everything. So I can remove this now, the validation label which we added for testing purpose. Now everything looks good. We have the dates and time, everything as expected. Okay, saving this application now.